What you call a young man curious? Drawing on a beat and you know I'm serious. Podcast only need 30 minutes. Experience, but I'm new to this business. About to start a project dependent on acquaintance from new and old business. I thank God for the vision. Every episode, new wisdom. We just talking about real business, like how they making money and how they living. I'm just trying to do something different, cause I'm just a young man curious. I'm just a young man curious. Yeah, I'm just a young man curious. All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Jorian Wilson. Welcome to the I'm Just Curious project. Today, I get to sit down with one of the most interesting people I know, my cousin, Ebony. I'm gonna let her introduce herself.
I am Jorian's cousin. I am Ebony Irvin of Houston, Texas. I don't even know how to preface this. Do I say that, what I do or what? Or do I just keep it simple?
Whatever you want to share with us for your introduction.
Well, I'm Ebony Irvin of Houston, Texas. I happen to be Jorian's cousin. I am an executive partner at IBM, focusing on AI and talent transformation and all things wonderful in life.
You heard that, executive partner. Now, I'm excited to talk to you. And I'm going to start with, I feel like one of the things I think is most interesting. So I'll hit you up, check on you. You'll hit me up randomly. And then you just not be in Houston. You be somewhere. Hey, cousin, I'm in Italy. Hey, cousin, I'm in Bora Bora. Tell us about you and traveling. When did that start? You've been more places than anybody I know personally. Probably everybody I know combined.
So you sound like my coworkers.
So tell me about traveling. Tell me, how did that start? Where all have you been? I don't know if you could list everywhere, but tell us about some of the interesting places.
Absolutely. So I've been a lot of places. I won't start where yet, but I'll tell you how I got started. So a few years ago, I'll name names. I have a friend named Brian Murph, a guy named Roger Rice, a girl named Rosita Hogan, a guy named Paul. We are all consultants, and it became difficult to travel with people that weren't on the same mindset. So people would just people start travel clubs all the time, but we were people who actually worked in the same genre of work, consulting. And when you consult, you can be anywhere and work. Okay. And everybody could we would just pick places, and we would just say, we've never been here. Let's try this. Let's try that. And we just became a group of people that traveled all the time. But it also made me an independent traveler, because you got people in a group that don't want to do the same thing. So we would just go places, cut a tracker on, and everybody goes and does what they want to do. And then there were sometimes that we would do stuff together, and then that would be a thing. I've also had girlfriends, like I've done girls trips with friends. I have a friend named Sonia Payne. I've traveled with her quite a bit in my earlier years of travel. And she's good to book a whole girls trip and get like 15 girls that hate each other on a trip. It would make for a great reality TV show. But we would travel places, like we were a nightclub group then. So it was, let's go to Live. Let's get a table at Live, and you get 10 girls that go to Live, and we, pay an astronomical amount of money for a table or something. But you got all these girls there, and everybody's kind of single and doing their thing. So it was a good time. Now, I got some friends. We do couples trips. We do those too. But it's just the whole gamut. But I became an independent traveler because I just wanted to just see other stuff. Yeah. I've been a lot of places. I've been to Southeast. I've been to Asia, period. Let me just say that, because people say, oh, well, you must have been to Southeast Asia. No, I've been to Taiwan. I've been to Shanghai. I've been to Japan. I've been to China. I've been to, Beijing. I've been to Thailand. I've been to Kuala Lumpur. I've been to Cambodia that way. I've been to, of course, Malaysia. I could probably go on for a second. In Asia. Asia is probably one of my favorite places. I've been to Vietnam. I've been to Europe, obviously. I've been to Germany, Frankfurt. I've been to Switzerland. I've been to London, so on and so on. Italy, the whole gamut. Amalfi Coast, you name it. I've been all through the United States except the Dakotas, which I'm trying to put on my list because just to check it off the box.
Right.
I also have a weird calling right now to go to Wyoming, so I'm going to do that. I have been to Africa. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Tanzania. I've been to the Ivory Coast. I've done that. There are still some places in Africa I will tell you I need to go. I want to go to Angola, want to go to Nigeria. It's off the beaten path. I want to go to Rwanda, you name it. I'm probably going to try to fit it all in. I've done the Middle East as well. I've been to Doha. I've been to Kingdom of Iran. I've been to Iran. I've been to Dubai. I've been to Kuwait. I mean,
well traveled, to say the least.
Just about everywhere.
All right, where's your favorite place? That's what I want to know.
It's gonna sound strange.
Or our favorite couple places.
So I love London. I love London because it's the New York of Europe.
Okay.
It's expensive as all get out. I'm gonna tell you that. But London is just a vibrant city for me. The food is good. The culture is rich. It's a good time. I think the only thing that people kind of get dismayed about is that it can be a dreary place.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a great time. It's a good party city. I think I like going places like we have a culture here in the United States where people just stand around and look at each other when they go out. Europe is so not like that. People will actually dance and party and talk to people and try to get to know the next person. Yeah. So London is at the top of the list. I think Italy is fantastic. I think Florence is probably a very underrated place, but Florence has great food. The people are just amazing. It's a lot of culture. Let me go back to the food. The food is absolutely outstanding. Another place, and people love Dubai, but I really, really, really enjoyed the Middle East. And I'm going to say it because it probably gets a bad rep because you see the stuff on the news and people are always telling you, oh my God, the women are oppressed and it's this. And there is a level of that over there. I am a person who likes a structure, and I think you know me well enough. I love decorum. So I can appreciate people having a set of rules and standards that they follow. And I also think it's fascinating when I go to the Middle East that people pray at the same time. I think it's a phenomenon. Discipline. Exactly. It's phenomenal. Like when you go during Ramadan and stuff like that, and you have the American side, and then you have the commoners or the people that really live there. It was amazing when I went to Doha, and when I went to Doha and Dubai as well with UAE. But Doha and Kingdom of Iran are two places that I've been where I've witnessed people pray, like stop everything, like restaurants close, like stuff shuts down, and everybody prays at the same time. And it's just a powerful thing. I think another thing I like about being just overseas, period, and I'll say the Middle East is a little bit more restrictive in terms of dress because, women have to be covered in some regards over there. But I like the fact that women really take pride in what they look like over there. And that's there because it's some beautiful women that are just covered. Yeah. You see their faces. Yeah. But they're beautiful women. In Europe, I like the fact that when we were in Paris, I was in Paris recently, but we were going out, and we were even in London, people were dressed to go out. And it wasn't an American dress. Like here we have a culture of, and I hate to just down our society, and I'm not shaming anybody, but we have a culture of people that just want to be naked all the time. Like it's everything. Let me show you everything. Right. And there it was people that were just young people, older people that were just well put together. It was just a vibe. Yeah. I think it's important to see those different cultures. It gives you an appreciation for what you have here in America, but it also kind of broadens your perspectives, which is one reason I have my podcast, to share experiences like yours with people who may not be able to go or afford, that they can learn from hearing about your experiences. But tell me what you have learned from your travels. What have you taken away, or what do you look for when you travel outside of the pleasure and the enjoyment, the food? So I'm always down to have a good time. So I'm gonna tell you, I am a partier. Let's go have a great time. But I do. So it was so funny. I was talking to a good friend of mine recently about travel. prepping for New Year's, right? Talking about where we're going to go with this. And we always joke that he always puts in what we call a cultural moment. We're going to do an ethnic brunch somewhere. Okay. We're going to find an ethnic brunch, and that that could be a black people brunch. That could be an Asian people brunch. It depends on where we are. We're going to do an ethnic brunch, and we're going to do a cultural moment. A cultural moment is where we go and really enrich ourselves in the city. So we'll look at a cathedral. We'll go to the temples. We'll spend a whole day doing that. So Asia is one of those places where I tell people you need to spend an extensive amount of time, because it's an extensive amount of history there, and you can't see it all in 2 days.
Right.
You know, you might can do Thailand. I say 2 days. There are so many temples there, but there are so many fantastic things to see. So that's one thing that I go for. I'm also a beach baby, so I like being on the water.
I'm with you.
It's just peaceful.
Right.
But I'm a person who flies by the seat of their pants, so I don't go necessarily. When I'm traveling with friends and they have an agenda, I follow the agenda. I'm an easy traveler. However, if I'm flying solo, I just figure it out when I get there.
Yeah,
I'm one of like,
I love that.
We'll just figure it out.
Spontaneous.
Yeah,
like
we'll just figure it out. You know, but let's go meet some people. Let's go where the people hang out, have some conversations. And I've met a ton of people that way. I met a couple people when I was in Shanghai. Who majority of people I meet when I travel, period, I still talk to them to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You better than me. I don't like people that much.
Lies. He loves people.
But I love that aspect, like the cultural piece. Y'all have a cultural day. That's something Destiny and I kind of try and do when we travel. Like, we try to have where we go and be with the locals. See?
Yeah.
And then we do that for like maybe a couple of days, and then we go and just be tourists and do all the touristy things.
Absolutely.
Sit at the resort. And so I like that aspect a lot. You talked about your favorite places, London, Middle East. Before we leave traveling and talking about that,
yeah,
if I want to go on a trip, I got a modest budget. Where would you recommend somebody go? Like, if I could have one trip next year, I could spend maybe a couple $1,000 all in, hotel, flight, everything. Where would you recommend somebody try and go?
We live in an inflation economy right now. I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing. You need to first of all, find your tribe. I think that's first when you're traveling. I mean, if you go with people, or even if you go by yourself, you need to just be able to just be amenable. I didn't start out saying I'm gonna stay at the Ritz-Carlton every single time. Okay. I had to graduate to get to the Ritz-Carlton. I had to graduate to some of these places.
Right.
Was I a person who stayed in hostels? Absolutely not. But when I was an early traveler, like in my 20s, it was cool. You had roommates, you had people you shared places, you shared a room with, and you split costs with. As you mature and you get older, there's a way to travel and to do it budget wise. Like here in Houston, we have Escape Houston that you can definitely go, and they have deals all the time.
Okay.
There are point systems that you can use. You open up a credit card and they give you like so many points. I know United gives you like 80,000 points if you sign up, and I think American has a deal. Delta is giving people like 75,000 points. I don't fly Spirit. I will tell you that. Don't fly Spirit. Don't fly. I've flown Frontier one time and learned my lesson. I will never. I think I wanted to walk back from San Francisco when I flew Frontier. But there are ways to do it. Become a member of some of these Marriotts and hotel. You know, I do the same thing everybody else does. You know, right. I think it's better to do it individually than using a travel agent, unless you're doing something very specific. So if we're going somewhere and it's very specific, then I'll say use a travel agent.
Yeah.
But for the most part, and it depends on most parts of the world, Europe is expensive. Period. Hawaii is expensive, period. I don't care what time of year you go. It's never going to be a deal. It's always going to be that. We can go to Paris. We can book Paris a month from now, 2 years from now. It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So you just kind of get your mind and say, I'm a budget for that and plan for that. And it is what it is. But there are some places, like when you go to Asia, I tell you the most expensive thing is a ticket. Once you get over there, one of our dollars was like 37 of theirs.
Oh.
You go to Tanzania, one of our dollars is 97 of theirs.
Okay.
So you go over there, $1 is 97 of theirs. So you take $100. I mean, You're kind of balling out.
Yeah.
Right. And their hotels are not nearly as expensive as it is here. Once you get over to these different countries, it's easier to get a cheaper flight. So you can go to Europe. You may pay $800 or $600 or whatever that is, and that's for an economy ticket or maybe mid-level ticket, and get over there, and it's an $80 flight from Paris to Italy. It's a $200 train ride to go from from place to place. So it can be economical. It's just about how you set yourself up.
Yeah. So where would you go? Where's the place? Modest budget. Where'd you recommend people to go?
See, it's not really modest because I would say Asia.
Okay. Any specific place in Asia?
Thailand.
Thailand's there it is, people. Thailand.
Next
year.
Cheap.
Go there.
Thailand's cheap.
Before we leave travel, though.
Yeah.
I said that was the last question. I lied. The last question is,
okay.
Have you been to a place or had a trip that you hated?
No. Because I'm a person who can make the best of anything.
Okay.
And I think, again, if I hated it, I probably was with some people that were like, Jesus Christ, like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And it's more or less about the company you keep as opposed to the place. Okay. I mean.
So the people make or break the trip.
They do. I mean, couple things. I'll use Dubai and I'll use Peru as one. I'm not the best planner. So my friend planned us for us to go to Dubai a couple years ago, went to Dubai. A couple things I tell people, and there's so much trauma going around with Dubai right now with the girl from Houston who is arrested and being detained over there.
Okay.
I tell people all the time, I don't care where you go, you need to do your homework.
Right.
Especially when you leave the United States. Everybody doesn't share in Western values, and not saying that Western values are not good values, but sometimes they're not the very best, and they're not exactly celebrated in other places.
Right.
Dubai is a place that they have. I told somebody recently, there's a reason why they have 2% crime rate.
Right.
Okay. There's a reason for that. That's because they have rules. There's no disrespect of any culture. When I was there, I didn't see any woman being oppressed at all. There are women that live there that, I mean, it's just very different.
Yeah.
However, something that I learned when I was there, I met a guy who will name nameless. He is from Saudi. Met him out when I was there with some friends, and we went to dinner. He excessively asked me for my passport, like every single time. He's like, every time I saw him the whole trip, I saw him more than once on that trip. Hey, let's hang out. Can I see your passport? Can I see your passport? And I don't carry my passport. I usually leave it in the safe deposit box. We went to dinner and he said, I got to see your passport. So I got there and I just thought it was the oddest request.
Right.
So I showed him my passport and he is like, almost he took a sigh of relief. And he said, I have to ask this because the black women, and he didn't say black, he said African women are majority prostitutes when they go over there. He said, and so when you have a blue passport, I know that you're really American. I kept saying I'm American. I don't know what else I need to do. I don't think I look Nigerian or African. I'm black.
Right.
Of African descent. So I'm not shading anybody, but I just thought it was a weird request. When he got to explaining that, so when I got over there, I started really paying attention. It was like little nuances like that, like you would never know that. Yeah. But you hear stories about women that go over there and they have sex and they sell their bodies and they do all these different things. Not shaming anyone, right. not for me, but I thought listening to his perspective of that, I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And he was like, yeah, that's a thing here. Then when I went to Shanghai, I have a friend that me and my girlfriend met there. He's part owner of a known restaurant we were at. Mm-hmm. And the restaurant is a global restaurant, so nameless. And we were talking about the presidential election at the time Donald Trump was running for office. He came over he was sitting with us, came over and he said, y'all stop. China's a communist country. You cannot do that over there.
Oh, wow.
You cannot talk about, like the way we talk about, I can sit here and tell you, oh my God, I hate Donald Trump, or I hate, DeSantis, or whatever my political views are, I can voice them. Over there, it's a communist country. There is no privacy. There is no secrecy over there. So he stopped that immediately, and he said, y'all can do that in your country. You can't do that over here.
Wow.
I thought that was
so
interesting.
Anywhere you travel, just make sure you're being respectful. Check your American privilege a little bit. and make sure that you don't get yourself locked up.
Absolutely. We always have to check our privilege at the door. It's the same thing. I took my mom to Egypt last year. Like I said, I read the rules before I get there, all the time.
Yeah.
But I respect what everybody else has going on, because I'm not saying that we get it wrong, but I'm not necessarily saying that we also get it right too.
Yeah.
But when I went to Egypt, they said, no booty shorts. No, I mean, it's hot too. Oh my God, it's super hot. No cutoff shirts, no tube tops, no all that kind of stuff. Because the men out there, they catcall, they do all that kind of stuff. But what I realized after speaking to a couple people there, they view a woman as being like queen for real.
Right.
And when you don't present yourself as such, they treat you as such. And I don't want to call people whores for what they wear or what they do. And I don't share in any of that, because people can do what they want to do. However, when you go to these other places, it can be viewed a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is over there. I mean, it's just what it is.
Yeah. So respect can go a long way and keep you from being locked up.
It can.
And
let me tell you, it can. It was crazy. I tell this story because a friend of mine went to Dubai and had a very great time. But when he got there, it was a couple who was girlfriend and boyfriend, and the girl got sick. And they kept asking her repeatedly, was this her husband? Was this her husband? They detained them because she was pregnant, and he was not her husband. That's not legal.
Oh, wow.
In the UAE. People don't know that. They don't believe in marriage outside of the sex outside of marriage. That's a big thing. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Got to be more careful.
If nobody tells you that, you don't know that, right?
That's very true.
So, because over here, we have a society of that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not pressing judgment. People can do whatever they choose, but when you go to other places, things are viewed very differently.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing about traveling.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump back now. You talked about what you do for work, right? So obviously work fuels the travel budget. So tell me a little bit more about what it is that you do. You could tell us at the high level with like the executive title, but then break it down for us. Let us know. What is that?
I'm going to give it to you because I know I know you got a large following. People are going to be watching this, so let me say it.
I don't know about large, but
it'll be there. Let me say this. You see commercials right now, and it'll say, let's get together so we can create. Mm-hmm. I work for IBM. I've been an executive there for about 2.5 years at this point. And when I say an executive, I'm a partner there.
Okay.
And I work with a great team of people, and a lot of what we do is consulting. And people say, what does that mean when you say consulting, right? Yeah. So prior to that, I worked for Accenture, great company as well. I won't speak negatively about any of the companies I work for. I've been in consulting for 10 years plus. I consult in HR transformation and artificial intelligence. Okay. I talk about talent frameworks. I talk about generative AI, and I prepare organizations for the future of work. And some people say, well, what does that mean? So right. We look at work right now, and it has completely changed and shifted since COVID. COVID has did a number on people. The way we come to work, the way we do work, the temperament for certain things, and a lot of traumatic PTSD I think people had coming from COVID into the workforce what we have right now. The norm at one point was going into an office and talking to your colleagues and water cooler chat, and you go home at 5:00, maybe hit a happy hour. That has significantly changed, right? So I'll choose healthcare right now. Healthcare is near and dear to me because it is critical to every place globally. Is so critical that it's being hit really hard right now because it's hard to retain talent, it's hard to keep talent. People don't want to come to work. And I'm not saying people don't want to come to work. People want to work very differently. And what does that mean? You used to go to a doctor's office and you'd have a team of people there. You have nurses there around the clock. You got people there around the clock looking after you, right? A lot of nurses got fatigued during that time. People burn out. COVID was hard during that time. So now we've pivoted. Medicine has caught up with us. and they're trying to get people in the workforce. More people are not going into the medical field as they once were. Things are just changing, period. So there are a couple of things that I talk about. I talk about upskilling people, retooling and reskilling people, giving people an opportunity to be trained in different things. At one point in time, you had to have the push was everybody to go to college and to do all these things. And I'm a big person that's gung ho for education. But that's me. I thirst for knowledge, right?
Yeah.
It's not everybody's path. I will say that. But we've given people or made people to feel less than because they just have a high school diploma and that's just not their path. So what people are doing now is to upskill. If you have a person that's a CNA, or if they're, and I'm using medical, that's a CNA and they want to go into be a rad tech, I can invest. I encourage companies to invest in their employees. Okay. Instead of saying, let me hire you, Jorian. I know you're just fresh out of I know you've been doing this for 5 years and I'm going to pay you 40% more. You might stay here with me 60 days. You may like the culture, you may not, and then you leave. Right. And then I'm still stuck. Yeah. And I could have just spent $20,000 and invested in my current employee who had skill set that were closely aligned or proficiencies aligned and upskilled them.
Right. And they showed loyalty to the company as well.
Absolutely. And they create a career path for them. So that's one thing of what I do. Okay. Then it's the talent frameworks part of that, where we create job profiles and proficiencies to kind of pull all that together. So a company doesn't have to create the wheel when they have to hire people. What is the market going to predict for you 5 years from now? Right. What is that going to look like? What skill sets do you think you're going to need? It's the same thing when you look at skills and you look at talent inference. I say talent and learning inference, or skills inference, if you will. It's about having enough, having people score themselves at a certain level so you know how to pair them and prepare them for the future. It helps with succession planning, workforce planning, and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of what I do is change management. I help organizations prepare their organizations for whatever magnitude of change that they're going through. So that could be implementing a new system, that could be a new process, that could be laying off people, that could be preparing whatever that change is. And a lot of organizations think they do it exceptionally well, and they don't. Part of what I tell them is that you got to bring people along in the journey. And a lot of people feel like change is happening to them and not with them. Right. And so that's a big thing. So it's just having a leadership conversation, getting leadership on board, being able to craft messages, being able to create plans and strategies so they can be the best version of themselves. Right. Helping create an organizational shift, because we went through a shift. A lot of people are still stuck in 2019 and 18. They haven't caught up yet. I focus a lot on state and local government because it's no secret that they're 10 to 15 years behind the private sector. Private sector invests, they got dollars to do it. And a lot of people in public sector, they have quality people that invest themselves and their time into their jobs. Okay. Yeah. And it's a very, I think state, federal, and local government are so underrated people because they are working in a system that can sometimes be considered as antiquated. Some people still working on PeopleSoft. There are very few companies that work on PeopleSoft. No shade to PeopleSoft.
PeopleSoft is probably like a software.
Absolutely. So you have,
just to clarify for the audience.
Oh, absolutely. So you got different systems, but they're working on these systems that have been dated like 10 years. That private sector is like 10 years ahead. Right. They're doing predictive analytics, and I'm just now having a conversation saying, "Hey, you guys need to think about a digital worker," and they're looking at me like, "What is that?" Right. Mm-hmm. And digital workers and stuff like that are like what you call chat bots and virtual reality. And I'll go into that in a second, but creating those type of moments that matter to employees, because what I do in the change management space, to kind of go back to that, is I create the moments that matter for employees. I help organizations really define that. That's how you create the organizational shift. So I work with state and local governments because I know that they're getting hit the hardest right now. They're not going anywhere, and it's not that they should, but they have to catch up if they want to be sufficient,
right, and attract the right talent.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's part of it, and then there is the robotics and AI piece that is a scary thing. I think not just for public. I think it's just scary for everybody as a whole.
This is new. Anything that's new is always a bit scary, and it's kind of like it's so smart, and its knowledge base is infinite, if you will.
It will. So let me say this, and I'm 50-50, and I work for a technology company, and I'm going to say this, and I love technology. Like I said, I love the learning aspect of what I do. I've had the opportunity, and I've been fortunate enough throughout my entire career. I've seen some things that I was just like a little bit blown away by. I remember a few years ago, I worked for an organization and I watched a robot build a house in 6 hours.
A real house.
A real house.
That people can live in.
Framing.
Okay.
You know how long it takes to frame a human to frame?
Yeah, a couple days.
No.
How long?
Framing can take 3 months.
Sheesh.
Depending on the house. I watch a robot do it in 6 hours.
One robot.
A small house.
I ain't gonna lie. I need that robot. He can save me some money.
But you think about this, and I put it in terms of a lot of different things. That robot is about 4 to 5 people's jobs. That one robot.
Right.
And it's the financial impacts of some of technology that I think I try to prepare people for. I read in Forbes magazine probably early this year, maybe late last year, 370 million jobs are going to disappear starting next year. Nobody's listening to me when I say that. When I go to work,
370
million are going to disappear.
To technology.
Yes. They're going to become obsolete and redundant. What are we doing to prepare people for that? That's the question.
Nothing.
That's the question. I watched a robot perform open heart surgery. That same robot has done knee replacement and can deliver babies. That robot is $1.2 million. And that robot only requires one surgeon in the room. Think about that. When you go to a hospital, you have a baby, you got a nurse, you got an anesthesia, you have all these things. The need for that is going to go away.
That is very scary.
That's scary. When people are super excited, like I love self-checkout. I'm like everybody else. I love self-checkout, and it's a necessity when things are moving, when I'm trying to get through something fast, right? Mm-hmm. I went to Central Market. I live in Houston, so I went to Central Market. Central Market is a luxury market, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes. It's a luxury market that is owned by HEB, and they have all these unique stuff. I can go there. I can pick up black truffles and white truffles and just stuff you can't get. I can't get at Kroger, right?
Right.
But people go there because it's an experience. There are people there. There's checkout. There's all this other stuff. I went to Central Market. And all of a sudden, one day they had self-checkout. All express lanes became self-checkout. What people don't understand is, and people are like, "Oh my God, this is great." And you go there, people are like, "Oh, it's great." But what are we telling what are we doing to prepare for the future, right? Because back in the day when me and you started, when we grew up, I could get a job at a grocery store to learn some type of consistency and stability. I mean, granted, it wasn't paying me $100,000 a year, but at 16 years old, you earn a paycheck, you sacking groceries or whatever that is, right? Mm-hmm. It creates a sense of self and helps people have social skills. It's just a variety of things, right, in time. Now you go to the store, there's self-checkout. Self-checkout eliminates at least 3 to 5 people's jobs. So if I have 10 self-checkout lanes, I have about
50 jobs.
You just lost 50 jobs.
Yeah.
And you only need, so I can do more with less. I need a manager there. I need a manager. When you go to Walmart, you need a manager who is one person, sometimes 2, that's standing over there to help people in self-checkout. But you don't need a team of people to do that, right?
Yeah.
And that is the economical part of that, is people looking at it and saying, oh, this is a great feature, and it is. But you can do more with less. People get pissed when you go to Zara. You go to Zara, shopping, the line's out the door. You know why? Because they've created 5 lanes with self-checkout. You should do this by yourself. And I don't need 5 checkers at the front line to ring you up. I need one person who can help with returns, another person that's helping people, maybe 2 or 3 people at the front, as opposed to you having 6 people there. Because now I have a whole self-checkout lane, and you can do it yourself. I went to Europe. When you try on clothes in Europe, you have to wave the clothes in front of a computer. It calculates how many jeans you have, how many shirts you have that you're trying on, and it guides you to a room, and then you have to scan all of it when you leave to make sure you didn't steal it.
Wow.
And if not, security's there waiting for you. I was just like, oh, this is new.
So this technology is definitely advanced, and it's continuing to progress, right? And
Absolutely.
It will do so until probably the end of time. What in the technology realm are you doing specifically as a consultant?
I help with people with HR chatbots, virtual assistants, the digital worker. I help create some of those personas.
So you are fueling this change.
I am, to some degree. I am, but I'm doing it in a sense that I like to think that what I do is more informational, because, it's a lot of fields. Like I told you, it's a lot of fields we're not going to see anymore. They're just not going to need them. And it's a slow progression. Right now, it's a very slow progression, but like when we do chatbots and stuff like that, we help kind of package those products, and it's predictive analytics. It's generative AI. Is just what it is. It's generative AI. It's predicting. The smarter you talk to this robot, the smarter it's going to get.
Yeah.
People laughed at movie Making is a real thing. That is coming. I don't know if she's gonna be watching kids, but. Being able to have a function of some sort like that, trust me, if you saw it on TV, they're probably doing it somewhere.
No, I think technology is super cool. It is kind of scary.
Yeah.
It definitely is really scary. If you see the capability that it has or will have access to all information ever, right? Over time, because it's constantly learning and doesn't have any it didn't have, I guess, a finite capacity like we do.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But if you watch it move, like technology moves really weird. Like the robots, they move weird, and they're kind of like, they throw you off at first.
Yeah.
I was interacting with the dog at work, they call him a Spot. It's like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
A robotic dog that can do stuff and climb stairs. And just seeing it interact,
it's weird.
But then I drove and I was like, you know what? I could get one of these until I found out it was like $80,000. And
well, you can afford that. I know you can.
I don't know about that.
But the same thing with Tesla. Tesla's Elon Musk is cutting edge. When he came out with Tesla, it's a self-driving car. You don't need this. I'm not gonna indulge. I just made a purchase of a nice car.
We're gonna talk about that. I want to hear about that. Technology is really, really advanced. When it comes to that, I just think we gotta be. I won't say technology. I think it's more social media driven, if you will. But I think that we can't get so wrapped up in technology that we forget the human experience. And I think that's a thing that we do at IBM. As much as we push technology, and we're more than that, because like I said, I do HR transformation and strategy. Right. I help organizations on a much larger scale than just those elements. Those are the things that I focus on, but we focus on a ton of stuff. Yeah. But we make sure that we don't wrap people up in just technology. We want to keep the human experience. It's because we're starting to get to a place where people they don't have a social skill. They don't know how to do certain stuff. We live in a very different culture though, right? Where you used to have social skills. Now you can live completely online in a fake world where you don't have to interact with anybody face to face if you don't want to. And it's different. I think I love social media, but it's scary. It's a blessing and it's a curse to our society.
And I say when people I used to say this phrase all the time, and I still stand by it. It's a lot of people that would rather be a fake nobody than to be a real somebody.
Yeah.
And it goes over, people say it sometimes when you say it, I said, you'd rather be a fake person. Like when I post stuff online, I had to think about, I started to be really mindful. I got off Facebook like 8 years ago. I think Facebook is probably one of the most disgusting places ever. I have friends that I have people that work there and friends that work there. And I've just heard from a data analytics perspective, some of the stuff they do, some of the stuff they see, the stuff they filter. It's just toxic.
Yeah.
They own Instagram, so I'm still part of the tribe, I guess. But I started to be more mindful of what I posted. So I post things about my life. I post things, funny stuff, just stuff to make people laugh, stuff to uplift people, right? I think that nobody's posting when the lights get cut off. Nobody's posting when my car is breaking down. Nobody's posting the real reality. So I'm putting you into this fake world that everybody feels like I'm obsessed with and I have to keep up with. And I want people to see my page, and I want them to see a person who travels, who has seen some stuff to help maybe encourage somebody to do something different, right?
Yeah.
And not just a pretty picture. Because a lot of that stuff is digital too. People are having fake. I have a couple friends that went on a couple dates, and they thought they were going with the person online. They get there, and it's a whole nother person. Like, because when you take all the filters and all the body shaping and all this other stuff off. I'm not
gonna lie. The world we live in today, I'm kind of glad that I'm not searching. Because, hey,
it's a trap.
You need to check ID. I need to check your birth certificate.
It's a lot.
I need to see you in person. Let's go swimming. But
it's a lot.
It is a lot. But I think you said a couple things that I want to touch on really quickly. One, the personal aspect with technology. I think that's a little bit of a saving grace, right? Because people enjoy that personal aspect. Like, even when I go to the store sometimes, I like to just go to the person who's checking out and taking orders. So I think people like the interaction. I saw something, that I'm, big in faith, and I saw something where I guess the chatbot had done like a sermon at one church, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, but the people didn't like it because it was cold, right? Which it speaks to like people need that personal
experience,
right? Exactly.
And we're gonna get to a place where, I don't want us to get so far to a place where people don't feel like they don't need human interaction. And I think we kind of went through that during COVID. I think a lot of people got a wake up call. I think it's a few things that took place. I think that people got to a place where they were going crazy. It was, some of that stuff was eye opening. They were about relationship, they spouses. A lot of people realized they couldn't be by themselves. It was a lot, right? Yeah. I'm my only child. So for me, I was excited about during COVID. I got to read all the books. I was outside more. I was on a plane all the time for work.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that too, but I got the time to spend in my home. I got to spend some time with my family, things that I had you don't appreciate at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're on the road too. So it's like one thing to be, as much as they get on your nerves, it's like, I'm at home right now. I'm not pressed to be anywhere. I got to answer calls or whatever your day looks like. But it was a thing where I literally was enjoying that time. Right. But I'm a person who is, like I said, I'm my only child. I'll figure it out. Right. But I had time to read a whole lot of books. I had time to get one with nature, if you will, because I was outside. I was riding bikes. We found all kind of stuff to do. Just here,
I think COVID was a terrible thing, but there was definitely some benefits, right? Like, so a couple for me was we were in Cali at the time, and I think the biggest one was I got to spend the first year of my son's life working from home. So when I would have been at an office doing my job, I was working from home and got to experience
moments,
waking up with him and seeing him having breakfast. So beautiful thing, but also the traveling aspect, right?
Yeah,
I think COVID was a great time to travel because a lot of people weren't out. So a lot of places you would go that usually are packed. You could just kind of have free range. But before we move forward from talking about work, you talked about consulting, what you did to prepare people. How can people prepare? How do you prepare people for the future with technology, right?
So from the business aspect, I think businesses are doing exactly what they need to do. They're focusing on reskilling, upskilling, retooling, figuring out how they do their job better. A lot of companies are forcing people to go back into an office. I think that's going to backfire at some point because people feel like
people are pushing back.
They are, but people got to be careful because the job market was the job market is super weird, to be honest. When we first started out, it was the great resignation at one point where people were quitting and they would go get another job. And then what you didn't see was the great remorse that came about a year later because people had went for this money grab and they realized this is not the culture. These aren't the people. I don't like what the company stands for. It becomes that. And then they want to go back to their old job.
Yeah.
So as much I love to put a dollar figure and say, oh my God, go for the money. And I'm that person too. I'll say go for the money. I tell people I can consult all day. Yeah. I do exactly what I want to do. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I love consulting. And I like it because it's just variety. It offers a variety. I've had the sneak peek inside of a lot of different organizations, small and global organizations. So I've got to see the inner workings and see how they work and how they treat their people. And I've thought about what works, what doesn't work. I mean, you get to see it real time, and I'm there for a short period of time.
Right.
And I've met some great people, CIOs, CEOs, or CHROs across the board. And everybody kind of experiences work differently. What people need to do to prepare themselves at home that are watching this, I think you got to really have a knack for wanting to learn something new.
Yeah.
Because what people were doing 5 years ago, what people were doing 6 months ago, they're not doing right now. Companies are asking. When I meet with people, they say, what are my competitors doing in the next 90 days? It used to be the next 5 years. Now it's the next 90 days. What are they doing? Tell me that story.
Yeah.
We live in a society that is moving extremely fast. You have a lot of entrepreneurial spirits out here, and that's not for everybody either. I think what we're going to see is people going back to trade work. I think that's going to be.
I feel like that too.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's an underrated thing. For like I was telling a good friend of mine, he's an electrician. I said, you need to start a business doing this.
Yeah.
I said at one point in time, especially being African Americans, when we had to fend for ourselves severely at one point, we owned electrician shops and plumbing shops. Those are things that are never going to go away. Automotive stuff is never going to go away.
It's going to change.
It's going
with technology, but it won't go away.
It's going to change, but it's not going to go away. Like people saying, you could have never made me believe that an executive assistant job could disappear.
Yeah,
it can
definitely.
So if me telling you, you should do this or customer service, we've eliminated a lot of tier 1 customer service jobs.
Yeah, I hate that though, because I hate that people on the robot phone.
Right, you got to get it has to be escalated to the highest point.
Right,
before you get a person
representative.
Exactly, and I mean people go immediately. People go immediately there, and the thing just keeps looping around. You know why? I help push.
You're the problem.
I might be.
You are the problem.
But those are. But the thing is, it's some of them are really effective. But I tell people all the time, if you look at it, tier 1 jobs don't exist. It's tier 3 now.
Yeah.
And tier 3 means that you are a super user of some sort, and you have a certain skill set that you bring to the table. If people are creating businesses and stuff like that, being able to understand the foundations of building a company is important. I'm not saying you need a degree for that, but I think you need to have some type of learning around that. Finance will never go away. People will always need money. People will always need houses. Yeah. It's just about being able to pivot.
That's big. I think that's a major key. So being able to pivot, having a desire to learn, and I think early adoption.
Absolutely.
I know sometimes we're resistant to change, but adopting something early can help you stay ahead of the curve. So
absolutely. And change management is my thing. I love it actually. Early adoption is important, but it's not as important. People won't adopt anything if you don't make them feel a certain way. That's the thing. When changes happen, when stuff happens, because I have to deal with people that have been at companies for 50 years. That's the only thing that they know. And then I'm telling them, hey, today your job is changing, and you ought to see the pushback. Like, oh my God, wait, what?
I've been doing this 50 years.
Been doing this 50 years. Part of that is a wealth of knowledge. It's a wealth of knowledge. First of all, I want to definitely acknowledge that first. I think the second part of that is those are people that are going to give you a little bit of resistance because they feel like, one, they're not going to be able to learn. So you got to show them that this is why. You have to show them why it's changing. Yeah. You got to be able to exhibit what's happening. And you just really got to bring people along in the journey, period. Yeah. And you got some people that can start and they don't want to learn anything anyways. I mean, they're going
to be left behind.
Exactly.
For sure.
Or not there.
Yeah. All right. So technology, constantly advancing, going to new heights. You are the problem. All that we've discovered in the past few minutes of this conversation.
Wow.
But
be your own family. Be your own family, man.
It be your own people. Wrapping up the conversation about work, I think consulting is awesome. Yeah. Some of the benefits, you get to travel like you talked about. You make awesome money. I won't give too many details about that, but I will say you just bought a Porsche. So let's talk about the Porsche. I want to hear more about that. You know, that's my car of the future, God willing. So.
You got it. You're going to get it. You know, well, I did just buy a Porsche. But, so let me tell you the story. This is an interesting story. It's going to tie everything probably together. When I was younger, I used to watch Thundercats, probably like long before you. And they used to be this.
And I've heard of Thundercats. I have no idea what it is.
Okay. So it used to be this car, and it's a crazy cartoon. I used to watch Thundercats. I was like, oh my God, this is so great. My mom had a friend who was, he was a family friend of ours, and he was a mechanic, and he used to work on cars, but he was, I think they grew up together. Anyways, rest in peace. He died a couple years ago. But I would always ask him to build me a car. Right. Mm-hmm. And the car I was describing is this Porsche that I have currently. It's weird. It's really weird, to be honest. But not really, because when people ask me about my career path, when people ask me about travel and they ask all these different things, I always tell them, and I'm a woman of faith, I just believe that I ask God for things that are going to come.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, right? I was never the person who started out as, I went to school and I figured it out. I know I didn't have it figured out. I did not.
Yeah.
But I made some choices and I figured it out. But everything I said I was going to do after that, I went and did. So my first car, I've had BMWs forever. I had a 3 Series. I had a Honda Accord. No, let me predate you. I had my mom's first car. It was a stick shift. I learned how to drive stick before I drove any car. That's number one. I broke all the windows out the car. I still drove. I think I had plastic on the window for a while.
How you hold on. You can't
Don't ask.
How you break the windows out the car?
I think the window stopped rolling up. It was a roll down. I mean, it was for real. 1983 car. I was in the 92,000. My mom had gave me this car. I was like devastated. She was not buying me a car. So I bought a car. I bought a Honda Accord. I had a Honda. I know it's funny, right? I wish I had a picture of the car so you could just believe it. But if you ask our cousin Ty, she'll tell you, because she used to ride in the car with me all the time. We was using
That's
it.
the funny thing about your first car. Like, you always have these high hopes, and then you just
it's a letdown.
You just settle for getting around.
Right. I was so excited, just like, oh, I'll be there. Didn't even matter. So then I graduated. I got a Honda Accord. I had a black Honda Accord. I love that car. And then I had it for a very long time. I had it for a while. And then I graduated to a BMW. I had a black series BMW 3. And then I graduated from the black one, and got a silver one. The day of my last payment for my silver one, a lady hit me and totaled my car. I think I could have cried that day. But before that, my mom had one of her coworkers that came over, and he had a blue 5 Series. This was the 5 that just really came out. It had new body, so it was fully loaded. I said, man, I'm gonna have that car in white. And I'm gonna say it was cocaine white with white inside. That's what I said. I said, oh man. At the time, reasonably priced then, if you will, they were like 35, 50,000 for like fully extreme 528i. They don't even make 528i. So when I got into the car wreck, lady hit me, and I was bawling because I was like, I had one payment. Dude, one payment, I was done.
Yeah.
And I had to start all over again. So I said, I'm going to just try to figure out what kind of car I'm going to get.
Right.
And I found a cocaine white with white inside 528i. And I paid $24,000 for it, and it had 12 miles on it.
Wow.
So when people see that car, it's a beautiful car. You've seen it.
Yeah.
And people are like, geez, I know you paid a pretty penny for it. And I'm thinking, bro.
If you only knew.
God said, you said this is what you want, and I'm going to give it to you, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, fine. And that has been my dream. That was my dream car. Like that 528, that's why people say, well, what are we going to drive next? The 528 was my dream car. That's why I refused to sell it. I got low miles on it now. That was the car that I really, really, really wanted. And I got it. So then after that.
You still have it?
Yeah. This is the one parked next to the other one.
We're going to check both of them out.
Fine. So had that car, and that was the car. I paid it off 2 years ahead of time. Back then, I think my car, now I think it was doubling payments. I think my car was like $428 at the time, which is unheard of right now because you can't get nothing for $428. And I ain't want another car. So I've had that car this whole time. And then I moved, and people kept asking, what car? Now you're going to get another car. You pay your car off. It's been paid off for like 2 or 3 years. Like, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? I was like, I don't know. I said I was going to get a Ferrari Super 8. That was going to be the car. You cannot drive a Ferrari every single day. So I dated somebody who has luxury cars. Yeah. And he suggested to me, before you make a purchase of any sort of of that magnitude, before people buy Lamborghinis and all of the kind of stuff, go rent one for like a week. And then come back and talk to me. So cool. I drove one.
Super 8.
I drove a Super 8. They are beautiful cars. They are not meant for daily use.
For comfort.
They're made, and you don't want to put miles on them. So you get people in Ferraris. You notice, people love a Ferrari because you don't see them all the time.
Right.
And people ain't just pulling up in them every weekend. You know what I mean? They're doing it on the weekend, but they're not nobody's pulling up. First of all, nobody's pulling up to a place of employment in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Unless they own the company.
Right.
That's first. So drove it. It was cool, but it was just, it's a car that I aspire to have one day, but it'll be a car that I probably would drive like once a quarter. And so why would I waste that type of money on that? So I live in this building that you are at currently.
Yeah.
And
gorgeous building.
If you travel floor to floor, there is a little bit of everything on this floor. There are Ghost Phantoms, there are Bentleys. There's a little bit of everything. But I kept seeing this Porsche Taycan everywhere. I just kept seeing it. And so it's a guy on the floor. It's an Asian guy. He lives here. And I knew it was his car because I seen him get out the car a couple of times. And he got on the elevator with me one day, and I said, bro, what kind of car is that? I've never seen it. He said, oh yeah, Porsche just started making an electric Taycan. And he was explaining to me, he said, I don't even have the fastest one. They have a 4S. And he was just going on and on. And I was like, it was just beautiful. Yeah. Like, it looked like something back to my childhood from when I told you about Thundercats. I just was like, dude. So I had surgery recently. And when I had surgery, the day before my surgery, I wanted to go look at one that I found. And I found one at a reasonably great price.
Yeah.
And I went over there. It was fully loaded on the showroom floor here in Houston. It was beautiful. And I said, maybe I should make a deal on this. And the man said, oh, of course. They tell you. course you can make a deal on this, and you got to take classes to drive the car, and it was all this. So my mom said, I think you should wait till after you have your surgery and then do this. And she said to me, nobody's paying this money for a car right now. So had my surgery on Friday. I called the dealership on that Monday, and I couldn't get the guy. So I have a friend who deals in cars, and I had him call. And he said, man, that car is sold. It sold the day of your surgery. I was devastated, man. I was like, what? And I called my mom and said, well, it wasn't for you. You know, she just said it wasn't for you. And I was just like, and in my mind, I was like, it was for me. I should have just did it. Like, what are you talking about?
Should have spent the bread.
I just should have just did it. But fast forward. So I told my mama something about a Porsche. I want one. I had test driven that day. They don't let you test. Well, let me be clear. They don't let you test drive them. They drive you in them because they're not simple. You'll see when we go downstairs. The gear shift is in the windshield. The whole top of the car is a computer. All the glass is computerized.
Oh wow.
So it's very different. Like, it's very different from Tesla, because you see Tesla's advanced, but the Porsche Taycan is all electric, and all the glass is a computer. When you walk up to the car, you'll notice if I have my keys in my pocket and I wave my hand over the I don't even have to wave. As soon as you start walking to the car disarms because it knows I'm in proximity.
Right.
If I set the car up right now and say we're leaving here in 10 minutes, the car is going to cut on, cool off. It's going to cool the leather. If it's too hot outside, the leather cools off. But I mean, trust me, it was bells and whistles. Man. And then there's a suspension piece of the car where if you leave out of a driveway so many times, the car adjusts. So your car it lifts the car off the ground so it doesn't scrape the bottom of the, I mean, trust me.
That's crazy.
They put some work into this car. So fast forward, I kept seeing them in the building. I said, I'm going to get a Porsche. I want to go see a Porsche. So I reached out to my friend who helps me all the time with my cars. I sent him like 4 different Porsches. And he was like, what is it about this car? Like, oh my God, I can't believe you calling me about this. And it's a lot of car note. It's this, it's that. And I was just like, yeah, but I want this car.
Yeah.
So I found one in Austin, one in Dallas. They had one more out here. The one out here didn't have nothing in it. And I'll give everybody a tip about a Porsche. So when you get ready to buy yours, you think about this.
Also, if you decide you don't like yours,
absolutely. When I get a Ferrari, for sure you can. I'll pass it on. When you buy a Porsche nickels and dimes you on every single feature in your car. Everything. If you want leather, it comes with standard things, and so the standard things is just very base model. So you're gonna get steering wheel, dashboard, and the leather in the car.
Yeah.
Now, if you want all these other bells and whistles that, like if you buy a BMW comes standard with a lot of stuff. The trim may be different. You might have to pay for a navigation system or some stuff like that, but those are custom things you expect to pay for, right? Yeah. Porsche, every single thing is custom. Everything. I'm talking about everything. So if you want the stitching of Porsche in the car, you're gonna pay for that. You want the leather different color, you're gonna pay for that. You want a suspension on your car, you're gonna pay for that. You want a sports package, you're gonna pay for that. You want a premier package, you're gonna pay for that. You want some mats, you're gonna pay for that. It comes with nothing.
Right.
You gotta find it. So I was every Taycan that I saw, they had less than 8,000 miles, every single one. And the reason being is because it's electric. A lot of people don't live in different areas where they're not electric stations. That's 1. 2, it is all glass at the top. So I live in Houston. It's hot. But I mean, the car is not hot. So I will tell you that. But the glass is the most expensive thing. So if the glass shatters, you're looking at almost a $10,000 repair. So it's always best to get the insurance with that.
Yeah.
And another thing about Porsche and Tesla is that if you buy one, you can only take them to the dealership. You can't. There is no outside, nothing.
You don't want to either.
You don't. And that's what the guy told me when I bought mine. He said, If the tire gets on flat, you bring it to Porsche. If the rims get scratched, you bring it to Porsche. If the glass gets, if a truck a rock hits your glass and you need to call us, and you have a week, I think 2 weeks max, to file a claim. You have to file a claim.
Yeah.
If not, you on your own. So it's a couple of things, but anyways, going back to the story. So I kept saying, if you go through this building, it's a Porsche on every floor. Like, it's a Porsche truck. It's 911s. It's a 918 over here, which is unheard of. It's all kind of Porsches in here. Vintage ones. It's just Porsche.
The vintage Porsche is a gorgeous car also.
Oh man, it's one.
They're beautiful.
It's one on, I think, the 8th floor. Yeah. I just was looking at it.
I'm gonna give me one day.
Marveling over it. Oh, I'm gonna send you to my dealer.
I'm gonna get me a Porsche one day.
When I tell you, I
gotta get Destiny a mommy car first, but then the Porsche.
I got you set up. Just let me know when you're ready. So I said I'm gonna get a Porsche, and I had been saying this since May, and I just I chalked it up to what my mom said. Maybe it's just not the right time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So then I found a Porsche in Plano, Texas, at Porsche Plano.
You went to Plano just to find this Porsche.
It was the one that it was the right price. It was fully loaded, and it had I think it had been driven from that person's home to Dallas. So it
was brand new for them too. Okay.
Basically, Porsche don't lose their value. You buy a 911 today, if you have a 2012, 2015, and we're in 23.
Yeah.
You can sell a 911 for $130,000 right now. Porsches hold their value. So if you got one, they're gonna hold their value. That's a thing people don't know. They don't. When you walk off the lot, you're not losing no money. Plus, Taycans they're new, and they're one of the most sought after luxury electric cars. Man, I found one. It was $79,000, fully loaded.
That's actually not bad.
Exactly.
That's not bad at all. And
because the other ones here were 92. I saw 102. I saw 155. I trust me. I've done my. I mean, exact features. So I said, I called him. I said, what's wrong with this car? He said, nothing.
Yeah, I think so. One thing about the cars is, like, depending on the area as well, that helps or hurts the price.
Yeah, he said nothing. I said, I'm gonna send you the money for a deposit to hold the car. I'll be there in a couple days.
Well, congratulations again on the Porsche. It's gorgeous.
Look,
I'm looking forward to going out there and you showing me the features and stuff like that. So congratulations.
You're gonna love it.
Consulting, a lot of fun. Get to travel. Affords the Porsche. You talked a little bit about education is big to you, right?
It is, but I will tell you this. So, like, as an HR professional, when I say I've done everything in HR, I've done everything in HR. I've been a benefits person, comp person. I've been a director. I've been an HR manager. Every job to be had, I have. Every certification to be had, I have. I have an AIR certification for recruiting. Got a compensation through CPP. I have a benefit certification through SEEBS. I have a SPHR. You name it, I got it. Got a SHRM certification. And let me tell you something. Do I use any of those today? No.
They look real good on paper, though.
They look great. They look great. I got a master's in HR, and I'm telling you, I have a master's in HR and labor relations, in addition to a master's in finance and business, master's in business, MBA finance. I would love to tell you that all these things have helped me cognitively. I think they help. I think a degree tells me that you can stick to something. I think a master's tells me something else.
So tell me a little bit about your degrees. We talked about the certificates.
Yeah.
You have some masters. Sounds like a couple. Tell us a little bit about undergraduate, your educational journey.
Ooh, you want that story? Okay. So I went to all white schools my entire life. I was over it. And my mom was forcing me to go to Sam Houston State. I went and I hated it. All my friends went there and I just hated it. I mean, I knew people from around the way that went to Sam. Went there for 2 years. I wrote my mom a letter. I said, hey, I'm done with this. I did. I said, I'm done with this. So I said, I'm going to go home for the summer and I'm going to give me a job. I had this whole plan. I'm going to give me a job. I'm going to give me a little apartment and I'm going to just be grown out here. And when I got home, my mom said, well, you got to get a job. You got to pay for this. You got to pay this car note. And I had a full ride. So that was another thing. She was like, are you crazy?
You walked away from that. That's tough.
Crazy. And I was pre-med major at the time. So that's a different thing. I was pre-med and I just was like, this ain't for me. And I didn't know what I was going to do outside of medicine. I just felt like I want to be a pathologist for the longest. And I just was like, it's not what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know I just don't know.
Right.
So I tell people it's okay to not know. So that whole summer, I went and I applied for jobs and I went to an interview for JP Morgan Chase. And I met this woman. I cannot think of her name. We talked just like I'm talking to you currently. And she said, you came here to get a customer service job? She laughed. And I said, yeah, I need the money. And she said, I'm going to hire you for HR. We have a program, but you got to pass the program. And I thought HR was what it is. You hire people, you fire people.
Right.
What a glorious day, right?
Yeah.
And I passed this class and I learned about Quadro. I learned about leave of absences. I learned about people going through marital discord because you got to deal with all that from a financial level. I learned about employee relations. I learned about so much stuff, benefits, the whole nine. And I did an internship there for that whole time. And she said, you need to go back to school. You need to figure it out. That was the conversation. And I went back to school and I got a degree in business and HR.
Undergrad.
Yes.
So you said something earlier. I want to just let people know. She said it's okay not to know.
Oh, absolutely.
And to figure it out. I agree 100%. But if you don't know and you're not on a full ride scholarship like you were, Ebony, don't go to school and waste
time.
Thousands of dollars in time.
No, don't do it. If you don't know.
Wait till you figure it out and then go back like you did.
Then go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, so absolutely.
Save you a couple $1,000s.
Then I went back. I applied for a program. And I went to get a master's in business, and because I think it was just a thing to do. Everybody I knew at the time was just, I'm in B school. Okay, so I'm gonna be popular too. I'm gonna do that. But in the interim of that, I worked. After I finished school, I worked at Chevron for a while. I worked at BP. I did
not know that.
Yeah, I worked at Duke Energy. I live in Texas, so it's oil and gas. Yep. And I did, at the time, a degree didn't mean anything. You had a degree, but I want 8 years of experience. I was like, what? This is nuts. So that was my story. So I took a lot of contract roles. I took a bunch of them. I would do anything that was in HR. And it was great because I did recruiting, I did benefits, and then I progressed. And it became a situation where I became a jack of all trades. I could do anything in HR. And then I got into BP and I became an HR business partner for them, and I became an HR manager for them for a while. And then I left and I went to Nextera, and I was under the CHRO, which was where I thought I thought I wanted to be a CHRO. We'll get to that too. And I don't know. I liked the job, but it was just different. I think the culture there wasn't a fit for me. But I worked there for a while. And I learned a lot. I made a lot of good friends there. I helped a lot of people, I feel like, get promoted throughout their career at Nextera. It was JEXA Energy. And then one day I got a call from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they said, hey, we need a consultant. We need you to come. You got HR experience. Can you come learn Workday? Workday is a new product for HR, human capital management movement. So I was like, okay, cool. So then from that, I took a pause, and I got a degree from Penn State in HR and labor relations.
So you got the undergrad in HR. Mm-hmm. Then you went to get the MBA.
Right.
And then you went to Penn State.
And I got a master's in HR, in employee relations.
Well learned. How long did
2 years each, 2.5, like 2.5 years.
Okay.
Did that, And remind you,
hold on, did you work and do okay
simultaneously in between all of this? Because everything at that time was you got to have a certification. So I went and got certified in everything. I made companies pay for everything.
Yeah,
like I made them pay. Oh my God! Anytime they had a program, I was always in the office saying, "Hey, I want to take this class. I want to do this." As long as it was geared towards HR, they was gonna pay for it. So I got a lot of certifications during that time. From that, I went to go work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I got certified in Workday. I hated working for PwC because they were, not that it was a bad company, but they were not as cutting edge as Accenture, the IBM and Deloitte's. They had came in at the very tail end of all these organizations that had already jumped on the Workday bandwagon. And I had a lot of friends that worked for Accenture at the time, and I had a lot of friends that worked for Capgemini. Those are my consultant friends I told you I traveled with. So from that, I ended up working there. And then one day I got a call from this company called Cognizant. And Cognizant whooped my butt. Okay. Got over there, became a consultant. They sold me on this dream. You're going to learn Workday and you're going to learn success factors. For people that don't know, success factors is SAP. And that's their human capital management system. So I got certified in that, and I was like, okay, this is going to be great. And they offered me more money. That's why I say, be careful about that dollar you chase. And I got over there. I worked there for 2.5 years. I never met my manager, ever.
You didn't meet him?
Never saw him. Never just talked to him on the phone. I managed an offshore team in India for half the year. So you got to understand, I'm working at the daytime at a client site, and I'm working at night managing people off-site in offshore that were in India. I was burned out because you on an island, so it's like no. But it taught me how to really figure things out. Then one day I got a call from Accenture, and I met a lady named Stephanie Rogers who is still there. She's fantastic. Stephanie hired me, and she said, "I don't know why we didn't hire you like a couple years ago." And when I got to Accenture, I didn't do HR transformation. I did change management. They stuck me in change. I'd never done change a day in my life. But again, it goes back to what I told you earlier about pivoting. So when Cognizant taught me how to be self-sufficient, Accenture taught me how to pivot. Accenture is an up or out organization. So if you're not getting promoted all the time, you'll catch the door quick. So the first time I got there, I was on a project and I met a guy who I absolutely respect. Ultimately, it's a guy named Rohit Khanna. Rohit was probably the most professional MD, managing director I've ever met in my life. Organized, pristine, and precise. I remember doing a deck for him probably 15 times. A period is off. The heading is off. The pictures are not centered. I don't like the verbiage here. Change the headline. People were up around the clock. And I work with some of the brightest people. I'm talking about, I was in there with likes of you, Harvards and Stanfords and all these little people, man. I was just like, we was in there trying to get it done for this client. This is the first client I ever been on at Accenture. So I was like, I gotta make this work. From that, I had a pretty good career there. I did change management. I was on a couple HR transformation projects, and then I left. I was there for like almost 7 years, and then I left. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do something else. Dabbled a little bit in the cannabis industry, started small venture there that I did. I focus on grow. People think it's edibles and all this other stuff. I want to focus on horticulture and growing. So I have a friend that I met at Cognizant who's a grower. Okay. He owns some land, and we partnered on some stuff, and I invest heavily in what he does. And if I see a venture of some sort in other places, we do that. We've made some small investments in some companies in California specifically, but not outside of Texas. Fine. I thought I could just do that. And then one day, IBM called me to be a partner for them in management service in New York City. They wanted me to move to New York. I met a lady there named Marie. She was so nice. We had like such a good conversation. She said, "You don't want to move to New York?" And I said, "No." And I love New York. But at the time, no. I just didn't want to do it. And so she said, "Okay, but I'm going to keep you in mind." 5 days later, another guy called me from Austin, IBM. And I had another girlfriend. She left Accenture. She went over there. She loved it. And guy called me from Austin, and he said, I found you. We're looking for somebody in Texas to be a partner. We think you'd be great. I think I interviewed for like 2 days. And then they called me on a Friday. I never forget it. It was wintertime. I was headed to DC. And they said it was February, because I started March 1st of 2021. And they said, what is it going to take for you to come out of retirement to come work here? I threw out some crazy number. I said, they're not going to give me this. And he gave it to me, plus some. And I've been there ever since. And it's been quite a ride. You know, people say, what would I be doing after this? And I probably tell them I'll be a chief people officer. That's the goal next. If I'm not a consultant, I'm chief people officer. I don't want to be a CHRO. I could definitely do that job.
What is a CHRO?
Chief Human Resources Officer.
Okay, just to clarify for those listening.
Oh, but let me tell you, this is people love to say, "Oh, I'm gonna be that." People love to see sweet, but let me tell you something. The CEO is the face of the organization. He makes somewhat business executive decisions, but he relies heavily on his chief operations officer, his chief financial officer, and his chief human resources officer. Right. The CHRO is responsible for human capital. Usually when the CEO steps down, the entire either chief CFO or the CHRO is going to follow him. They're going to step down too, because they're responsible for whatever downfall he has. Yeah. And it's a lot of responsibility, because you have to manage the budget, you have to manage the money. It's not just about the planning and all that. It's deeper than just saying, I'm finna fire you today, or we need to let these people go. It's deeper than that. It's about being forward, being able to manage budgets, being able to be strategic thoroughly. I mean, you gotta be on all the time. I like the warm and fuzzy aspect of my job. So I would definitely be a chief people officer, that touches HR transformation, because I can see the vision when it comes to that, right? But that would be next for me. Now, going back to my journey after that, I worked at Accenture for a while and got to IBM. And
so you said something that caught my attention while you were talking. You talked about, you know, you got these opportunities, people call you. Yeah. Were you pursuing them at all, or did people just hear about you, come across your resume? How did it work out? Because I'm always worried. I always think about, how do people come across these opportunities?
This is the thing you will find, is that most people in consulting end up being C-suite people, because we work with them. You got to show up in a different way when in consulting. Like, I work with all kind of people in consulting, but I usually start at the very top. So I'm sitting in a room. I have to impress a CEO when I'm talking to them. I have to talk to a chief HR officer. I talk to them all the time. Right. And I have to tell them about their vision and help them shape that. So consultants are in rooms with those people all the time. So a lot of things that we try to say, oh, it's my degree. Yes, you need, I think some of that does help. But to me, I think it's very relationship based. I think a lot of people, I think in the very beginning, I had to really prove myself. And this is a story I don't tell, but it's a story. When I worked for Lyondale, I was a contractor for them doing payroll and benefits. And it was hard. I hate payroll. Hate it. I watched this guy, Lyondale. He was the vice president of talent acquisitions. And he left every day at 12 o'clock and played golf. No, he didn't get there before me. He got there at the same time, and he left every day at 12 o'clock, and he left every day at noon. I just didn't understand it. I was like, what? I want that job. I want to be that guy. I want to be able to leave every day at 12 o'clock. When I saw him, I just was like, man. So one day I walked into his office and we were talking, and obviously I do payroll. So I saw this man's payroll. He was pulling down some numbers like crazy. And I went and I said, man, how do I do what you do? And he said to me, it took me 8 years to get my degree. He said, I was in the military for a while. It took me 8 years to get my degree. He said, I don't have half the certifications you have. He said, I was started in HR when it was called personnel. He said, I just worked my way. And he told me, and this changed the trajectory of my career after that. He said, learn every single thing that you can learn about this field. Everything. Be knowledgeable across the board in this field about everything. Mm-hmm. He said, get everything that you can get. He said, it'll take you far. He wasn't wrong. That's the story. But I think a lot of it is relationship based. I update my LinkedIn. I also in consulting, I do a lot of speaking engagements. So I go to conferences. I was at HR Tech. I go to
so you have a lot of
Gardner.
As well.
But it puts you in different rooms to do that.
When you do good work. I think that you said something that's really key to anybody in any career or path, whatever you want, as you talked about learning as much as you can, right? And to learn as much as you can, you really have to pour yourself into it to get that out of it, right? A lot of us are focused on the next move, focused on whatever it may be, that we miss the opportunity to pour ourselves into where we are currently. Yeah. So I like that a lot. Awesome. So we talked a little bit about career. We talked about education now. And I think that your entire journey speaks to not only you being able to pivot, but resilience as well. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about where that comes from. Tell me about your upbringing with Aunt Mary, who I love dearly. I love Aunt Mary, full of love. She always sends us a card. She sends the boys gifts. She sends me good morning text sometimes.
She gonna send you that. She gonna send you that prayer request. I already know because I didn't know my mom reached out to like half of my friends. One of my friends named Brian, who I'm super close with. Brian say, "Your mama pushed me through, man." She sent me that. She said every time she sent me that little note, I said, "What?" I'm thinking, "What note?" I didn't get a note. He said, "Oh, your mom and I, we chat." I was just like, "What is happening right now?"
I love her good morning text, and I love when people send me cards. Right, sending cards is kind of a lost art in our society now, but I love it. I keep all of them.
I love love letters. So yeah, I mean, I force the dudes I date to do that. I mean, don't text me, send me a love letter. I mean, mail it too. Like put a stamp. I mean, seriously, don't hand it to me. I want you to mail it to me. Like I want to be shocked.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
I gave my mom hell. I was I think Tawisha will tell you this because we was super tight. I always just was like, I'm gonna take the whooping. I ain't gonna get the punishment because I ain't sitting in the house. I was that person. I was always gonna maintain my grades in school, but I wanted to have fun all the time. Like fun was like just it. I want to be outside. Like what the people say now, I want to be outside. I was outside. But my mom allowed me to, and she still does. She allows me to make mistakes. I go to her I talked to her before I bought my car. I'm an adult. I'm a full-on adult who can make a decision. I don't make major decisions without talking to her. Like I still to this day. Like, what do you think about this? I'm always calling her. What do you think about this?
That wisdom is different.
It just hit different. Even in relationships, if my mom, I usually don't bring people around until I know I like them in a certain level. And if she still, she'll never say, I don't like, my mom, I don't like that person. She'll never say that. Mm-hmm. Her answer, I just picked up on social cues at this point. She says, well, if you like it, I'm good with it. That's her favorite thing. And that means that
she don't like it.
Basically.
You like it, I love it.
I'm supporting you. And then she'll follow up. I'm supporting you if that's what you like. So my mom has allowed me to make my own mistakes. And I think that has been the greatest thing for me. She's allowed me to grow and to be the person that I was destined to be without her influence. Because there's a lot of parents that'll tell you, well, you shouldn't be doing this. She did discipline me. I don't want to say it wasn't that, but it was, I'm going to allow you to be you, and I'm going to let you make the mistakes. I ain't going to let you get too far out here and that crazy, but you got to make your own mistakes. Even as an adult, I go to her for counsel. I go to her for counsel all the time. But my mom allows me to make mistakes. Like we were talking about marriage with some other people one time, and she said, when Ebony gets married, she belongs to him. Can't come over here. Can't spend. Ain't no spending the night. Ain't no. You gotta go. You can go over and talk to me all day for counsel, but you gotta go home. He can come over here. Y'all gotta go home. Y'all gotta work that out.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting involved in that.
That's wisdom.
Exactly. And my mom has governed. She's governed. I've governed my life after that. So my mom allows me enough to make mistakes. She doesn't butt in. She don't do that. I ask her for advice. She tells me this is my thoughts. I usually start with her first. If you think it's a good idea, what you think about this, or did you see this before? And it's a lot of stuff. Like I said, time has changed. So it's a lot of stuff sometimes I'm educating her stuff on. She calls me for stuff too. So it's a two-way street. But I think my mom has just allowed me to just be me, really.
No.
Yeah.
I love to hear that because you love to have fun now. So I'm glad that you've
yeah.
always been that way.
Forever.
Do you have a desire to be married, though? You talked about marriage.
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
I know it's going to be work.
It's a lot of work. It's worth it, though.
Exactly. I'm going to say this. I was talking to my friends tonight before we met here. My friend Rick was on a totally different path at one point in time. He had went through a breakup. He'd been married before. And I told him, I said, you got to change your mindset, change your circle, change the people you're around. I said, this is, what do you want? You need to work on you. That was my advice as a friend. And then one night I drug him out to a birthday party. He was feeling down. And I said, bro, we're going to celebrate. And then we're going to go to this little place. One of my friends owns a restaurant. We're going to go there. He's having a 30th anniversary party for that. It's going to be a good, cool DJ. That's going to be great. The DJ was there, who's also a friend of mine. His sister was there. They ended up meeting, and a year later, married and a child.
Wow. And
they're super happy. And they love me to death, and they contribute where they both were at the time. And I said, I didn't do anything. I said, you guys manifested each other. This is what you both prayed for. I just made the opportunity. I just brought people to the opportunity.
Yeah.
And, not without knowing that it would, lead to that. But we were talking about relationships tonight, and I was telling them the thing is, when you get married, is that you got to choose that person. You have to choose that
every
person,
day.
Even when you don't like them.
Every hour.
Every
second.
Every moment. Like every time. I told her, I said, when you leave the clothes on the floor, you still got to choose them. When her hair not combed, you still got to choose her. She put on 20 pounds, you still got to choose her.
Yeah. That's the commitment you make.
Right. I said, you got to choose each other. Even when it looks the worst, you still got to continuously support and choose each other. I said, they have a child now, and she's gorgeous. I feel like she's my child, because I want to pull out the phone and show y'all the picture. She's a gorgeous little girl. But she's like about 8 weeks now, and this is just, like I said, this is their first outing. And so I was talking to them about the babiness, and I said, here's the thing. Because we did talk about being married. I do want to be married. I don't want children. Mm-hmm. And I tell, it's a famous line from my favorite show. Shout out to Kevin Spacey. House of Cards. In that, it's a scene in episode 6, I think, season 1, where his wife is meeting with this guy who had a crush on her or whatever. And she said that when she married Frank Underwood in this show, he said to her, if you are looking for someone to have a couple of kids with, count the days to retirement, then tell me no. Because I'll offer you freedom from that. What I promise you is that you will never be bored. That's me.
I like that.
That's all. I promise you, you'll never be bored, and that I will love you. That's all I can give you. That's it.
I like that, and I respect the transparency and honesty.
Yeah.
It takes a very mature person to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is
it.
What I'm offering you.
This is it.
I love you, but if you can't get down with that,
and I understand that.
Right.
And I don't try to force people to a box. I tell people all the time, and I think that's why I've been able to build genuine friendships and build relationships throughout my career, personal life, family life, and all that. It's because this is it.
Yeah.
There is no, you've met the wizard. There is no, we don't have to pull the curtain back. This is the wizard. This is it. And I just, I'm a free spirit. Yeah. Let's travel. Let's have a good time, and it's not
enjoy life.
Yeah, let's enjoy life.
Let's max it out. Yeah,
that's kind of that's where I'm at. So if it's not, and I'm in a non-conforming part of my life where I'm accepting people exactly where they are.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people try to fit people. They have an idea about the people like the idea of a certain thing, and then when they get it, and it's like
it's a different breed. It's
exactly.
a different animal.
I was telling a guy I dated before. I said, "Don't put me on a pedestal." I said, "Because what happens when I fall off?
Yeah,
what you gonna do then?" It's okay to think I'm of a certain character in a scene, but everybody falls off, right?
Yeah.
At some point, something, and so.
We're all human. You talked a lot about faith, or mentioned it several times.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about where you are on your faith journey. What does that look like for you?
You might want to call your auntie about this because
Which one?
My mama.
Okay.
I have this battle with her all the time because I told her straight up. I said, if my dreams don't scare me, then I'm not dreaming hard enough, if you will. I don't know why things happen. Well, I do know why. I believe that if I can see it, I can have it. That's just it. I don't want to get too spiritual on you, but I will say this: when God say I walk by faith and not by sight, I'm a true believer in that. Like I just have faith in everything. Like seriously, like I have blind. Like it's people that's just so crazy. I have blind faith, like in everything. When I moved into this apartment, my mom thought I was insane. She thought this was the craziest decision I ever made in my life. She said, "You gonna pay how much? That's a house. That's like 2 houses." And I lived in another part of town, which is super nice too. My rent was probably a 1/4, maybe 1/3 of what I pay currently.
Yeah.
Like it was like not even close. And then I showed her this building. She saw this apartment. She said, "This is great." And I told her, I said, "I want to be on the 25th floor. I want this, I want that, and this, that, and the third." And when she saw that fee sheet, I could see the fear in her face. Yeah. Like, you can't even borrow this kind of money from people. Like, I know she did. I could see it in her face. And she said, "You sure?" And we went and looked at another building over here, and it was equally as expensive. And she said, "Girl, Ebony, I can't make these decisions. This is all you." This is what she said. And then I moved here, and I've been here for a while.
That's a good mother. She gives you her thoughts, but then she says, "I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna love you, and I'm gonna support you."
She supports me, but here's the thing. She's a person who lives in a mindset of a lot of modesty, where, I can probably afford to do this, but I'm not gonna do this, or because I don't know what's gonna happen. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the part. It's I don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen either, but I trust that God got me every single time. Right.
You see, he got a good track record.
Exactly. So when I moved here, I was like, I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And I made it happen. It's the same thing with that car. Like I said, I didn't want another car, and because the BMW is the car that I have always wanted. God gave me that. I found it at a discount, and I don't even know how I found it at a discount, to be quite honest. Then when I saw that Porsche, and I said, you know what, that's it. If I'm not gonna buy a Ferrari, I'm gonna buy a Porsche. That's gonna be the be all end all for me. And I'm driving a Porsche.
Yeah.
And it's a fully loaded Porsche, and I got it at a crazy reasonable price. Because I promise you go look at a Taycan today, you are not gonna find one under $87,000 with 87 with nothing.
Yeah.
So I got a fully loaded one. Okay, at 79,000. Shout out to Josh Creeder, Plano, Texas. Porsche Plano. It's a shameless plug. But I just in everything, I just always believe that it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, so I just feel like everything happens for a reason. No, God don't make no mistakes. You know, I would tell people all the time, I win the lotto. I'm going to win.
Just when you win, I want like just like
I got you.
A small percentage.
Fam, I got you. You know, you can decide if you want to work or not. That's how it's going to be.
Hey.
But the thing is, and it's not about excess, but I live in a present of, I am super excited about where we are currently. Like, I can't think about tomorrow just yet.
No.
I mean, I know I got stuff to do tomorrow, but in my mind, I'm solely focused on right now.
I love that.
This moment right here, because tomorrow's not promised to me.
Yeah.
And I can't think about nothing that happened. I can't fix anything that happened yesterday.
I love that.
So we got to be right here and right now. So the other chips fall where they may, and you just got to be prepared in that moment. But I always tell people, I always just trust God first. I already know it's going to happen. I mean, but I also believe in power of the tongue too.
Yeah.
So a lot of people speak misfortune upon themselves constantly. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't have any self-doubt. I always say, well, I will do this and I can do that and it's going to happen. Oh yeah, I can see this. It's just a mindset, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
But that's where it's at.
That's a dope place to end.
I'm telling you, that's the secret, for real. That's the real secret.
Well, thank you so much, cousin, for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. I love you, cousin. So anytime you want me to do this again.
All right. Thank you for joining the I'm Just Curious project. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope it leaves you inspired to live curious.